You would think how long I've been filming, I would figure this out. Okay, is the lighting good enough or do I need to open the curtain? Y'all, it's hot and I'm tired of it being hot. Let me move. My hair is big, so I need to back up. Anything for Selena's. Hey, hi, hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess. It's still hot and I'm still mad about it. But also we have this to try today, and this is Flying Power, the sugar-free energy drink. It was an Aldi brand, and you know me, I always want to try a beverage. Now this flavor is apple kiwi. I have no idea if this is gonna be good or not. So I'm gonna crack it here together. You know, that could have been better, but this is a metal straw. If you know, you know. It's apple, it's kiwi. It's no Red Bull, but it's drinkable and it's sugar-free. So that's what I'm gonna have. Anyway, we're here to talk about a wrap up. It's June 1st. I'm not gonna spiral about the passage of time, but you know how I feel. I read a lot in May. I had a break from classes, which was so nice. They have started back. Not happy about it. So although I still have an ambitious TBR for June, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to all of those, but I read 15 books in May. 4 of those were rereads for a vlog. So I'll link the vlog, and I was inspired by Books in Lala to do rereading my favorites from 10 years ago, although it was 9 years ago for me, blah, blah, blah. You can go watch that video, it'll be linked. And so those books were Illuminae, Salt to the Sea, A Monster Calls, and The Foxhole Court. So you should go watch that vlog to see how I felt about it. But those were 4 that I reread. I also reread 7 books from the Chronicles of Narnia. Where is it? It's right there. The Chronicles of Narnia. My favorite before and still is The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's one I read as a kid. I only read that one, and I didn't realize there were a greater series till later. I read them all, and then I just reread them because I'm discussing them with my friend Alyssa. Well, originally it was supposed to be The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. She had never read any of them, so she ended up reading them all. I reread them all. I just listened to it on audio, and I was not surprised that I still love The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. That holds up for me, one of my favorite books ever. But The Magician's Nephew, also still really good. I still really enjoy that one. And then I'm trying to remember. Let me look. So Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, still great. Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe is amazing. 5 stars. Prince Caspian, what did I give it? I think that one was good. Yeah, I gave that 4 stars because I was happy to see the Pevensies back. Those are always my favorite books when they're involved. And there were some fun side characters. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, fun. I didn't love it as much. I would give it a 3.5. But yeah, Eustace was in this one. He was working my nerve, and they're very short, but even towards the end of this one, I was like, all right, let's get on with it. The Horse and His Boy, do I not have that one on here? Oh, okay, I skipped over that one. I said 3.5. And it's nice to be outside of Narnia, but it is obviously very of its time. The way they're describing people of darker skin, I don't really like it. And just the story overall. At first I thought I was gonna really enjoy it again because I'm like, ooh, I love usually like a sentient horse. But as the story evolved, I just didn't care. I didn't care. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, okay, I just said that. The Silver Chair, another one where I really didn't care. I just didn't really feel invested. Jill and Eustace as main characters do nothing for me. So, whatever. And then the last battle. Wow. I forgot how that ended, and all of the books, especially now with an adult brain, I can look at it and, you know, see all of the Christian undertones. But I feel like as the books go on, but especially in the last battle, it's not undertones anymore. It's just blatant. And I was like, Jesus. It just like, especially, what's our girl Susan is basically a teenager having different interests, but they're like, she's interested in boys, and basically she's terrible and she's a sinner and she's going to hell. I go, what the fuck? I totally forgot all of that. Let's see. I put it's peak Christianity. It's not hidden. Again, referring to the dark-skinned people, I think of of Calormen as darkies. Yeah, the ending, I really hated that. So out of those, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, still my favorite, still the best. And then The Magician's Nephew and Prince Caspian would be the next best ones. Then The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Then The Horse and His Boy, The Silver Chair are kind of the same. And then The Last Battle. Ugh. Anyway, so it was interesting to reread them at this time in my life. And I will be excited to have the chat with Alyssa. We're gonna be having it tomorrow. This video, I don't know if this video will already be up. If it is, I'll link it. If not, I'll share it when the video is up. Because I am excited to talk with her about these. This was her first time reading them. I also read The God of the Woods. I read this for Patreon Book Club, and I tried to read this maybe a year ago. I think it came out in 2024, but I tried the audio and I was so confused. I ended up putting it down and picking it back up for the book club and reading it with my eyeballs. So I did give this a 4-star. I don't read as many mystery thriller. Again, I struggle to know the difference between them, so I don't know what this one technically is. I just don't read a lot in that genre because I feel like I've read some really great ones and they just were so amazing to me. Then I read other ones and they just feel like they fall short. So there's few and far between that I read this genre, but this is what the patrons voted on. So I overall was surprised at how much I enjoyed this. I do think it's a bit long, as I say for most books, because I think it's almost 500 pages. Excuse me, this says Kindle edition 490, so that's definitely a big critique. But I feel like if you're listening on audio, that either you have to slow it down and just like really pay attention, or it's just really hard to follow because there's a bunch of characters and there's time jumps. So sometimes, or how it'll start a part of the book and it'll have, let's say it's Susan, and then, but it'll say underneath, it'll say 1975. And then, so you're in Susan, and then it'll be Susan 1965. And then it'll go Susan September 1975. Susan, like, so reading it and being able to read that every time was much more helpful than trying to keep that in mind when you're doing the audiobook. So there's a lot of characters and jumping around with the time. And the book is primarily set at the summer camp. It's in upstate New York. And we have this wealthy family that owns it. And this, for the first time, their daughter is going to the summer camp. And she goes missing. But then you learn another child went missing years before. And so then, of course, it's like, okay, are these connected? What's going on? Are they dead? Like what happened? So that part of it, that is obviously the main mystery of the story, is what happened to this girl and then what happened to the child that disappeared beforehand. And so we're getting POVs from one of the police inspectors, and she's a woman. At this time, it's the 1970s, so there are not that many women on the force. We're getting her POV. We're getting one of like a volunteer firefighter who was working around the time when the first kid disappeared. We're getting one of the mother of the girl who has disappeared, someone of the camp counselor, like, so we're getting all these different looks. We're getting POVs from someone who's very rich and doesn't have to worry about anything, this housewife, but she also has had a lot of, and at this time, I don't know if it was classified as postpartum depression or even like just any postpartum issue, but she's definitely suffering from that. Her husband's a douche. He's way older than her. I think they got married and she's like 18 and he was already like in his late 20s. So you're getting that perspective with her. She's kind of isolated away from her family. She has mental health issues. Then you are looking, and so you see her and her wealthy family, but she still has her own issues. Then you're looking at like a camp counselor who, she doesn't have a lot of money, but she's dating this dude who does come from money. So there's a lot of conversations in the story about motherhood and mental health and class. I think also sexism is a big one in here. So I think I really enjoyed it for that. Like, I thought the mystery was interesting and kept me intrigued, especially with, it made sense at the end what happened. Like, you can look back and be like, oh, I saw where the little crumbs were being sprinkled, because I do not like getting to the end of a story and it's like some red herring or like something out of the middle of nowhere and you're like, that character never even came up. Why is that the person, the culprit? But this one, I think it was, as I kept going, maybe 30%, I'm like, okay, is it this person? And then this person, then we get another POV and I'm like, okay, maybe it's this person, maybe it's this person. So I really enjoyed the mystery aspect of it, how that unfolded. But I also think it works really well because of all the other conversations going on about class, about sex, about, well, sexism, like, you know, and mental health. So for me, that all worked. And I could see where people have a problem with like the pacing because it is a bit long. But again, with all of the different POVs and the way the story was told, it kept me engaged. So I did really like it. And now, when I was discussing this with one of my patrons, Molly, she was telling me about another book by this author. And she was saying that it is more reminiscent of like the show Mayor of Easttown. And is also set in like Kensington and Pennsylvania. And I was like, ooh, because I loved Mayor of Easttown, so I want to read that one. It's called Long Bright River, which actually came out before The God of the Woods. I, for some reason, thought The God of the Woods was a debut. It wasn't, but I really enjoyed the writing, so I definitely want to check out more from that author. And then I read something completely different, and it was exactly what I needed. It was perfect. It was 5 stars, and it was A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandana. I loved the first one, The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I can never remember that title. She obviously loves a long title, so I was expecting to love this one, and I did. It has a 3.93. I'm like, you guys, whatever. When I think about cozy fantasy, this is what I want. And I don't care if that's not the typical definition of cozy fantasy, but she writes exactly what I want from a cozy fantasy with some romance in it. Like, I love a house full of misfit people who come together to create a family. I love found family in a story. I love a house that's a little wonky, has a little mind of its own, does crazy things. I love the magic in this. The little recipes when they're having tea, the little moments, I love the love interest, his sister. And so, you know, if you know me, especially in a romance, I love when a man takes care of a child that's not his own. And so in this one, we had the male love interest, had his sister, he was basically her guardian. But then our female love interest also, she has her cousin, her little cousin. And so it just made my heart so happy, every part of it. Every part of the book, the magic, the research, the what, the little angst, what is it called? The stakes. Because they're not huge. It's not in a major like epic fantasy plotline, but there are little stakes. I loved all of it. The pacing, I love her writing. It just feels like something to cuddle up with a warm mug of tea. And it's just perfect to me. To me. I loved it. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Small stakes, the absolute best atmosphere. You've got a little country house. There's a little zombie chicken or a skeleton chicken, and there's gardening, and I don't know what else to say. Our main character, basically uses magic. Like, she brings back her great aunt who she lives with from the dead, and that's like forbidden, so her magic is taken from her. So she really just has little bits, and she's survived for like 15 years that way. And then of course along comes our little kind of closed off love interest, and she's been on this journey trying to like figure out how to get her magic back. There's a talking fox, but he comes in, and she has an inn that basically only shows up for people who need it, and he needed it at that moment, him and his sister. And you know, they end up staying for a while, and she has some other random inhabitants of the house as well, in addition to her and her aunt, and every one of them is precious and perfect, and I love it. So I cannot wait for whatever she writes next, because it's just going to be just what I need. And so if you want cozy, cute, cozy romance, little fantasy, yes, you need this. I read London Falling, a mysterious death in a gilded city and a family's search for truth by Patrick Radden Keefe. I feel like I've said this a million times. He wrote Empire of Pain, which I love, one of my favorite nonfictions, about the Sackler family who created oxycodone. But this one is, I haven't read a lot of nonfiction that are kind of true crime stories, and this, I don't want to, that I feel like that kind of flattens it, but this kind of is. I heard about this death of this young kid named Zach, I think, Bretler. He was only 19, and he like stepped off like a balcony of, was it a high rise in London, and fell to his death. And then there were things that came out about maybe like the secret life he was living, trying to pass himself off as like the son of a Russian oligarch, and that's really all I heard about it. So it's very interesting, and Patrick explains in the book how he came to, you know, meet the family and end up investigating the story. So I love that. But this was not, like, at his core, this was about Zach, and so we do get to know him, of how he grew up. They were a really, you know, middle class family. They were going to private schools, but Zach wanted more. Like, he became really obsessed with like extreme wealth and like billionaires, and so he kind of just created this persona, and he was really confident, so it convinced a lot of people way older than him, people in their 30s and 40s, that he was the son of a Russian oligarch billionaire, and his family had no idea. They didn't find this out until after he died. But what I loved about how he told this story was that in order to explain all of the different people that were involved, he gives history about other things that maybe you wouldn't think. You're like, this story is about London and it's about this kid. But obviously he's giving some information about Russian oligarchs and like really wealthy people who came from Russia to London, and different like tax breaks and ways they kind of evaded paying taxes and stuff like that. He talked about, because one of the guys is, I think, is he from India? But a time when some people, and I can't remember from where, so I don't know if it was India or a South Asian country, and a lot of them moved to an African country. I'm forgetting all of the countries. And then there was a lot of these South Asians in this African country, and then the government changed and they wanted them to leave, so then a lot of the South Asians left, but some of them went to England, and then that's how this other guy came to be, and like the history of his father and how that influenced him. And so at first, sometimes it would be like, okay, where is this going? But then it loops back to the main story and how that's all connected. So I think that did a really good job. And I know that some critiques of Empire of Pain, it is this very, very dense. It's like a very dense read. But I feel like this one, because it's like a recent crime event, death that happened, and like the things going around that, it didn't feel as dense. It was more like narrative, but still obviously we're getting factual information. He's doing research, trying to reach out to people, trying to interview people, and so I just think it was really well done and really enjoyable to listen to. So if you like listen to true crime podcasts, I think as a nonfiction novel this would be really easy to listen to. I also enjoy him as a narrator, and I will say that it just made me feel so sad for Zach, for his family, and it just seemed like Scotland Yard, the police force really didn't do as much as they could have, maybe. I don't know, it's hard to say that in the after effects, but I mean, when I say ACAB, that includes police across the world, not just in America. So anyway, if you were like me and heard about that story, maybe a little snippet on TikTok, I had more interest in it. This is a worthy read, and you just learn a lot in the process. So I think it was great. I mean, I always find nonfiction hard to rate. It's really either a 4 or a 5, unless I really thought you were terrible. And this was a 4, a really strong 4. Last 3, briefly, because I don't have a lot to say about it, was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams, a classic sci-fi novel. Is it a classic? I don't know, modern classic. I read this for the book club that I'm in here, and it was fine. I've never seen the movie, never read the book. Some moments did make me laugh. Some moments I was like, oh, okay, I'm seeing what you're saying there, but it is written, it's absurd. It's absurd. And so there were some moments where it felt like, oh, maybe we're backing up off the absurdity a little bit. And I was like, I really like this commentary that you're making on like capitalism and corporations and stuff. And then he would go back to absurd. And so it felt like there's not a plot, but like kind of not. I'm like, okay, what's the point? And then the ending feels so abrupt, and then I know there's more books, and I was like, that's how you ended it? So I just don't have a lot of feelings about it. I give it 3 stars. Like, it wasn't terrible. I read it pretty fast. Like, it was easy to read, and again, some moments I enjoyed, and then some other ones I was like, okay. And then us discussing it, some people have read the entire series or had read the books years ago and reread it, and I was like, y'all are not convincing me to continue in this series, so I think I'm good. Now I know about it. Will I watch the movies? I don't know. But at least it's like something is very popular that now I've read it. Okay, cool. The Night We Met, Abby Jimenez. I was nervous. Say You'll Remember Me was a flop for me. I did not enjoy that one. It felt like Abby wrote it, TikTok on one screen, Word document on the other. I just didn't enjoy it. The couple, it felt like their relationship was more harmful than good for them. Was not my jam. The Night We Met was back to the Abby I love. I gave it 5 stars. Made me emotional. I really felt invested in the characters and the relationship, and I felt the longing, the tension, because essentially she's dating one of his friends. So they get to know each other, but you know, they're like, well, we can't do anything because I'm with this guy and he's like, she's with my best friend. So I was like, how is this going to resolve itself? I was really nervous. So I think that added to like the reading experience, because I was like, how is this going to happen? This is a romance. They have to end up together to be happy. And there's a little dog in here. Abby always loves to put a dog, and she loves to give him a dumb name. That's like my biggest complaint, was the dog's name. His name was like Wolverine, like Wolverine, and I just called him Woofy in my mind reading it. But I liked the friendships and their relationship, and just the little things that this was the little things that matter, that he would catch and pay attention for her. And then when she realizes the things that he's doing for her, oh my God, I was like, yes. And like, even some of the friendship things between like the guys made me emotional. And so I love the main couple, but also you get the little snippets of them and like side relationships, and you also care about those too. And so this is back to the Abby that I know and love, and so I'm just very happy. It is like, her romance books are usually around 400 pages, which I'm in my mind, I feel like romance should really cap at 3, maybe 325. But I flew through this, easy writing. I loved it. I don't know what else to say. And then I ended my month on a not so positive note. I finished the arc for Headlights by C.J. Lee. So I'm here to tell you that it was such a disappointment. I buddy read this with Alyssa, and we both feel very disheartened, disappointed in this story. She read both American Rapture and Mayfly. I love them. I've only read American Rapture. I DNF'd Mayfly in the first chapter, but it's something I've considered revisiting. But this one, I was like, okay, maybe this is gonna be back to the American Rapture writer that I loved. So Headlights here's the problem. It is talking about kind of like this, seems like a serial killer. These people basically have no memory of doing anything, and they like show up with the skins of people, and they have like someone's hair tied around their tongue, and it's like, what's happening? What's going on? Is this like somebody controlling people? Somebody, like, what is going on? Poisoning people? And it really starts as like a procedural, because our main character, he's in the FBI, I think, and the case has been cold for a while, but now there's a new murder and he's pulled back in, and it's set in Colorado. And so I was like, okay, at first, fine, I can enjoy a procedural. I didn't really care much about the main character and didn't feel like we knew him that well, but like the story starts off, especially the first chapter, really starts off with a bang. I was like, okay, let's do this. And then we get in and we see that he's the FBI agent. These murders have started back up. I'm like, okay, I'm here, I'm interested. My problem from the beginning, after the first chapter, is that he experiences trauma in his youth, and then we are jumped to the present as he's an adult. And so he is going in and out. He's having flashbacks. Like there's these moments where he's, because of PTSD, which I understand. But it's the way it was written that was just so choppy. It was like very short sentences, and like, then there's the italics to show like what his thoughts. I don't know. It was very choppy, and that kind of evens out, and it becomes a little less. But that was a struggle. So I'm like, okay, I don't care about the guy as a character. The writing is really not selling me, but I'm interested in what this is. And I would say about 60%. We leave procedural and we just start getting weird. And I never once cared about him or any of the other characters. She starts adding in a lot more things to the story. And then the resolution was so unsatisfying for me. I don't feel like they were all answered well. The explanation was garbage. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This is what you want me to believe, and then this is what you want me to believe, and this is why. It was just not well done. It was too long. The characters weren't that fleshed out. I didn't enjoy the writing, and I didn't enjoy the jump from procedural to whatever fucking mess it became. Like, which I was kind of expecting, right? That there was some kind of maybe supernatural element or something to it, but it just goes beyond that. It's very fucking weird and just like too out there, and it just didn't feel like a satisfying conclusion to all of the things that she presented and opened up as questions. And I just, yeah. I gave it 2 stars. I'm so upset. I think maybe it was just one and done for me, American Rapture, but because this was just not it. So that was it. That was May. I read a lot. At one point I was like, you know what? I want to read a little less. This is too much. I barely got to watch any TV. That's crazy. I did spend a lot of time watching a 2 part documentary on YouTube with Robin, so that's my bad. But I usually did that while I was doing things, so I really wasn't like watching, I was like listening, but still. I want to watch Fringe. I want to watch television. This is my struggle. It's like, yes, I love to read, but I love to do other things. Paralives is a new simulation game that's out. I want to play that. I want to, yeah, I just don't always want to read. And Jessica, no one's forcing you to read. I know, it's me. It's me trying to do all the things, and so I just need to find a better balance. So if you read any of these, let me know your thoughts. How was your reading month? And what was your best and worst read of the month? Please tell me below. But that's it. So thanks for watching. Stay blessed, hydrated, moisturized, and sunscreen. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.